Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the very basics of Adobe Flash's layout, kind of an introduction to the program itself. One thing to know about Flash used to be under Macromedia until Adobe bought them out and incorporated it into Adobe's popular and powerful Creative Suite 3, which brings a lot of elements into it. It's Adobe Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, Dreamweaver, Flash. There are other internet website tools from Adobe as well that will incorporate, that will work really well between the two, or between the programs, which we'll find later on works out really well when you're transferring things back and forth. Let's go ahead and open up the program, take a look. You'll find that this very opening window gives you some options to create some things. They have some templates for different devices, action scripts, and some recent items and stuff like that. We're going to open up a Flash file, ActionScript 2.0. It doesn't really at this point, actually. You can either, at any point, we're just going to look at the general layout. ActionScript really doesn't matter until we start getting into the ActionScript coding, which is something we're not going to even touch today. So, here we have the basic Flash layout. We'll kind of start from the top and go down. Up at the top, we have our main tool, menu bars. Very similar to other programs with opening and closing, and you can, editing, copying, pasting, and we have different options. There's multiple ways to do it. Anything in any Adobe's programs, you can, a lot of the menus that you find here, the options that you find here, you'll find tools for down there, and so it's really just however you learn, however you discover things, and however you prefer it. But we have our main windows, and there are more windows we can open up here. The next most important thing is probably our timeline that's up here, right underneath the main menu. Flash works with time. A lot like a video editing program, you actually have your timeline with frames and keyframes. Frames are merely sequences where something is drawn on it. Keyframes are where important, or when things start to change. And at this, on our timeline, we can create new layers, different layers, and have different things going on at the same time, but the screen will still play. For example, let's copy and paste some frames down there. We have now 20 frames in our sequence. You can go back and forth, just kind of like a video player. We can show you a little bit of how to do that next. Another most important thing onto our left is our main toolbar, our tool menus. Their different tools, our selecting tool, our standard tool. This white arrow will select segments of shapes. If you want to manipulate different shapes, you can grab corners with squares and those kind of things. Free transform tool, pretty standard. If you could change the shape or or you can change the size or the direction of an object. Your lasso tools for selecting. Pens, typing. Your standard drawing tools, your line tools, your ink bottles, and if you rest your arrow over it, you can actually get a small description, and your colors, your stroke color and your fill color. For animation, one important thing to know about Flash is that it's a vector-based drawing program, not a pixel. And if you know what that means, is pixels are the little dots that make up pictures or other objects that you draw in other places. But vector is actually created with mathematical formulas. So if you zoom into these shapes that you create in Flash, as far as you want, you'll never see a dot, you'll never see a pixel. That's the sign of a vector graphic program. Over here on the right, we have our library, and that's when you start importing elements, start creating shapes and things like that. You'll start to fill up elements in your library. There's all sorts of windows that you can turn on and off your swatches. You have some of the same toolbars as for your scripts for when you're drawing and those kind of things. Alignments, you can get different your alignment palettes and things like that. I suggest that you just open up different ones, and just to see how it goes. And you can play around with these as much as you want. Down here, also a very important aspect is your properties panel, and you can parameters and those kind of things. If you select on an object, your properties panel down here will change. It'll tell you if it's a shape or if it's a picture, a graphic, a video, those kind of things, and it'll give you the attributes associated with it. You can change some of those attributes down here. Again, it'll be more important when you get into more complicated things like movie clips and buttons and those kind of things that have a little bit more options down here. You can apply certain filters. Here, let's expand that so you can see it. There's some filters that we can apply. We can get into that a little bit later as well. One more, a pretty important window that I can show you at this point. We're not going to get into it right now, but that's that. To find our actions panel, and when you get into doing action scripts, if you go up to Window, select Actions, it'll pull up in your action script. This is where you're writing code later. So that's just a very basic layout of Adobe Flash. Jump on in, don't be afraid, work around with it, play around with it, draw some things with it. How you can change this panels or these frames up here is if you right click on the frames, you can convert to a keyframe. That will change it, allow you to draw a new object. So get in there, play around with it, see what you think. Don't be afraid. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. For this, more information, check out www.freeadobeflashtutorials.com, or I'd love to hear your comments or questions at freeadobeflashtutorials@gmail.com. Thank you very much.